Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today I'm going to be mastering, reviewing, and talking about the ways to run an M60E4 machine gun in Battlefield 4. This slow-firing, heavy-hitting machine gun has gotten the nickname the Pig in real life because of the way it sounds when firing. It shoots at 570 rounds per minute, making it the slowest firing machine gun in the game, but it also does pretty darn good damage. 33 maximum and 25 minimum, meaning you're going to at least get a 4-shot kill no matter what range you're at, assuming you don't hit them in the legs. Now if you noticed at the beginning there, I already got the Mastery dog tag. This gun is certainly easy to get kills with if you set it up correctly and you play the right kind of maps, like most guns in this game, but I will say that the M60E4 can really be a deadly force if you set it up properly. So what are the benefits of this gun? Well, like many of the machine guns in Battlefield, the M60E4 has very low first shot recoil. In fact, its first shot recoil is half of the follow-up shots. This makes it an excellent tap fire weapon. In fact, if you can single shot this gun consistently, you're going to get very good accuracy. Considering that it does 34 max, 25 minimum, you kind of have a little bit of a DMR in your hands. Maybe not quite as powerful as the DMR because you don't get that 34 max damage, but at range it's still going to be a very effective weapon, and considering that you have a 100 round magazine, you're not going to really have to worry about reloading too much. Plus, if anybody gets up in your face, you can always just go full auto and drop them extremely fast, much faster than you ever would with a DMR. Now, are there other ways to run this machine gun that don't require a tap fire mentality when playing with it? Absolutely. You can use a stubby grip, you can use whatever kind of setup you want, heavy barrel, anything really works well with this gun. It's just not going to be quite as good as it could be, and if you like, say, burst firing or going full auto with LMGs, then there's certainly better machine guns out there. But there simply aren't any better machine guns at tap firing than the M60E4. This is going to put you in a whole different range class than other LMGs, and you're going to be able to out damage so many people at range, and you're going to be taking out snipers and DMR users and everybody who thinks that they're at the advantage at these kind of extreme ranges, but you'll actually be at the advantage, especially if you put on some sort of magnified optic. It's going to allow you to be that much more precise at range. Now, one of the biggest downsides of this weapon are its iron sights, and you might be thinking, well, why do you care about the iron sights? Just throw a red dot on there or an ACOG or some sort of magnified sight and don't worry about the iron sights. Well, unfortunately, because we have this fixed iron sight on the front barrel, Battlefield has decided to make us co-witness with the front iron sight with our red dot sight all the time, even if it's a magnified optic. Now, Battlefield has never really done magnified optics right. If you're looking down, say, a 3x scope or a 4x scope, and you see the front iron sight in your view, that's actually going to be blurred out in real life. It's not going to obstruct your vision as much as it does in Battlefield 4. But because it does obstruct your vision in BF4, you basically lose a lot of the detail and your ability to be precise at range. It also really doesn't help that the iron sight is actually such a big block in this game. It doesn't really shrink down, which is something that it probably should do, at least to sort of represent the realistic version of the M60. This sight was not meant for accurate, precise marksman shooting, and considering that the gun is really set up to do so in Battlefield 4, it doesn't make any sense, and it really hurts the overall performance of the weapon. One of the only benefits of using a normal red dot sight on this gun are that it actually gets rid of the rear iron sights, which are more obstructive than the front iron sight. So at least you can get rid of one of the iron sight options, but you'll never really be able to get rid of that front iron sight. Maybe in a future Battlefield game where they bring the M60 back, they can sort of redesign how they do sight pictures and magnified optics and that sort of thing. But as for the time being, we're going to have to deal with this unfortunately unrealistic sight picture. My favorite sight to use on this gun was the PKA 3.4x sight. Not too much magnification and minimal scope housing, so it doesn't really obstruct too much of your view. With this, I used the angled foregrip and muzzle brake to reduce that vertical climb as much, and then just tap fired as many targets as possible. I did use a red dot sight for a lot of the gameplay here because when I first started using a magnified optic, I was having a little trouble with the amount of optic bounce, but when I put a muzzle brake on there, it cleaned it up enough, and I feel like the accuracy I gained from using a magnified optic was definitely worthwhile. If you're in a game mode though where you're not seeing a lot of targets at extreme ranges, then by all means put a red dot on there. But if you are seeing a lot of targets up close and personal, perhaps the M60 is not the right weapon to use. Now the nice difference between, say, using this and a DMR at range is that you can take a lot more shots with this weapon, and it's going to give you kind of better chances at hitting moving targets or betting chances at taking out moving targets. Now when you tap fire a lot, you spam fire, you're going to miss a lot of shots, you're going to use a lot of shots, you'll probably be doing a bit more reloading. That's absolutely fine, especially if you're keeping your range. The reload time on this is 7.8 seconds, so you're going to need a while. Take a little bit of cover, get that reload done, throw down an ammo box when you're done, regain your ammo, and you'll be fine. Keep your distance, nobody will sneak up on you while you're reloading. When you get in close quarters, then you're in a bit of a different situation. You might have to use your sidearm a little more. When you are at range though, remember to check the sky for incoming mortar rounds. There's not a lot you can do to defend against UCAVs or anything like that, but mortars you can at least look at the sky, and if there are a lot of enemy mortars, make sure to change up your position frequently. I wouldn't recommend using a suppressor on here, but if you do use that suppressor, it'll at least keep you off the minimap from your own gunfire. Chances are though, if there are a lot of mortars in a game, there's probably some enemy MAVs spotting you anyway. Rush is a great game mode to play with this gun. There's a lot of funneling in Rush, a lot of long distance targets, even some close range targets which aren't too bad, especially if you're getting good with those headshots with the M60, and you're basically going to be able to rack up those kills and work on getting that mastery tag. I always run with an ammo crate in this game mode. You have so many opportunities to get a lot of resupply ribbons. Now you could kind of be that guy running C4 and something like a UCAV, but generally speaking, if you want to be a little bit more of a team player, the ammo crate is the way to go. Hipfire is no good on this weapon. It can work in a pinch, but you're really not going to want to rely on it. And don't even bother putting a laser sight on this, because you're not going to really be able to improve your hipfire enough to make it worthwhile. You're just going to give away your position with that laser sight. And now that smoke grenades are so flippin' popular in this game, thanks to the fact that you can now carry a lot of them, you're going to be getting into a lot of situations where your laser sight is actually going to be giving away your position through that smoke cloud. So really my advice is to just keep it simple with this weapon. Try and keep as much distance between you and your target as possible. Run it almost as if it were a sniper rifle or a DMR, and you're probably going to do really well. Now, naturally, I end up being a little bit more aggressive, and again, that's why I'm running with my red dot sight here, because when your team's not pushing up and you have to be the aggressor, then you got to get up close and personal, in which case you're not going to want that magnified optic. If you do have the ability to be still very accurate at range using a red dot sight, as I can be at times, then by all means try it out. If it works well for you, then stick with it. Now, the three general machine guns in this game that do heavy hitting damage, the M60, the PKP, and the M240 Bravo, are all good at tap fire. They can all be outfitted in the same way. They're not going to be quite as accurate as the M60, but they won't have that iron sight problem, so you might actually prefer using something like the 240 Bravo or the PKP instead of this. Now, because of the long range nature of this setup, you're probably not going to die as much unless you're running into a lot of bolt action snipers. This can be a fun way to play the game. You really do feel more like the support class. You're more effective at range, you don't have to be one of those casualties on the front lines at all, and you're still throwing down ammo that your teammates can pick up when they either come back to you or pass you up on their way to the front lines. There's nothing wrong with a more passive style of gaming in Battlefield, even if you're on the offensive team in a game of Rush. If you're not dying and racking up ticket losses for your team, but you are taking out the enemy, then you're still helping out your team in many ways. Even if you're providing a spawn location for your squad mates, that can still be really helpful. If you are dying all the time and not making much progress, then that is actually hurting your team in a Rush game. So much like the sniper class in Rush, you can actually be a very, very effective class, provided that there's at least some force on your team that's pushing forward and trying to arm the MCOMs. Now, somebody always says, why aren't you using the bipod? You never mention the bipod on LMGs. Well, this is one of the few weapons classes where the bipod is moderately effective. The only problem with the bipod is that it makes you sniper food, or frankly food to anybody who's got an accurate weapon. Mobility is always going to win over accuracy in my book. You need to be able to move around, dodge bullets, get behind cover, and stay alive. If you can stay alive in Battlefield, then it presents you with more opportunities to get kills. You can always try and work on your accuracy or outfit a weapon to be a little bit more accurate while you're shooting from a standing position. Anyway, that wraps it up for my review on the M60E4. Try the tap firing method where you just simply click once for each shot as opposed to holding down for burst fire or full auto. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what weapon you'd like me to master next. There's a list of them in the video description, and I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap signing off.